All right, everybody. Welcome. Let's get this show on the road. We have a quorum. Okay, very good. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your time and for being here. So I will, they got this little hammer up here. I'll call the meeting to order. And there's been a recommendation, a request on item 6 to move Manitou up in front of Colorado Springs. If someone would make a motion to approve the agenda considering that request, I'd appreciate it. So moved, Ed. Thank you. Tony, thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. Agenda is approved.
Mr. Chair, all alternates may vote.
Okay. All alternates can vote. Any public comment for periods, the items not on the agenda, if any of the members? Anybody in the public? Any public comments? I just like to point out two things. On your desk there or in front of you, you have a hard copy of the ballot. The most recent ballot, in case you would like a hard copy. And then you also have a little certificate that shows the actual final count on the passing of 7A. So awesome, almost an 80-20. Our goal over the next iteration of this thing is to continue to gain that public trust and do and execute what the citizens want us to do. So that's our goal, my goal. Is that right with you, Dave?
100% agree, Mr. Chair. It's a brilliant approach and a great idea, as always, sir. Count me in. All in favor.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Cindy.
So I just wanted, I don't know if you all knew what happened with Calhan and the ballot, but I'd like to thank Rick and the Jennifer Ivy, the attorney. We had a little problem and the PPRTA question was not on Calhan's ballot, but with help from the elections and help actually from PPRTA, we got it handled. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to Rick and Jennifer Ivy.
Yeah, I heard about that fiasco and a lot of driving around on your part, apparently.
I went into Springs quite a bit. So, but we got it done and we got our voters the ability to vote. So that's all that mattered.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Cindy, for updating.
Thanks.
All right. No other questions or comments? Approval of the minutes from the November 7th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Isn't that November 2nd? Oh, it's right on the minutes, just not on the agenda.
Correct. Sorry. I'm reading from the agenda.
Larry Tobias, move for approval of the minutes.
And David Zelenak would second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Very good. Any opposed? Okay. Financial reports, Lisa.
Lisa Corey, I'm the finance manager for PPRTA. We are reporting 2 months in arrears, so this is for September of 2022. The sales and use tax revenue was below the monthly budget by $309,230 or 2.2%. Overall, for the year, compared to the amended annual budget, we are still over by $1,129,679. And September of 2022 revenues exceeded September of 2021 by $515,160 or 3.9%. Did anyone have any questions on those?
Any questions for Lisa on the financials? All right, great job, Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. And you, when the new ones come in, do you send the CAC members? I know you send them to the board, but does the CAC, everybody get them?
I thought everyone was on that. email.
Okay. Okay. So if you, I was just curious, when the new ones come out and get released between this meeting and next week, it could be tomorrow or as late as Monday of next week, but I mean, the 9th, okay. So if you're interested in looking at the most recent financials and they're the ones that go to the board, let Lisa know you'd like a copy so that she can include you if you're interested in that. Is that all right with you?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, item 6, capital and maintenance public transportation contracts. So we're gonna do Mr. Dole of Manitou first.
Hello, everyone, CAC members. Thanks for letting me be first on the agenda after I saw that Gail had 10 contracts. I appreciate, Gail, you doing that. This project request, it continues our work at Hiawatha for our transit shuttle project. This actually gets us to final renderings, textures, colors, design features. This is, I incorrectly stated in this document about construction drawings. That's not the case. This is really to get us through our historic requirements, our textures, our materials, like I said, and to get this consultant to get us to the point where the very next phase we would roll into construction drawings.
Okay, any questions for Dole on Manitou's project? All right,
Need a motion to approve?
yeah, why don't we have that?
So moved.
You so move. Motion to approve Manitou's project has been made. Second,
I'll second.
second. All right, thank you, Craig. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, very, anybody online? No opposes? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Get your coffee out. Gail's getting ready to get started. Go ahead, Gail.
Mr. Chair, Gail Servant, City of Colorado Springs. I think the county is going to ask the leapfrog next time too. I'm just kidding. No,
You still can't, you
please
still
bear
can't
with
leave.
me.
Oh, that's fine.
The city is going to be presenting 10 contracts for your consideration today. So bear with me. You're going to be stuck with me here for a little bit. But it's all good things, I promise. Mark Shuffle Road, first contract is Mark Shuffle Road from Carefree to Dublin. This is a project we've been advancing through both the intersection improvements and more importantly, the traffic operations and safety program. This is for some additional design services required for the projects to include the annexation plat, a separate bid package for Barnes and Mark Shuffle intersection, redesigning access roads as things have changed since plans were first done on the side roads. So have the water quality and stormwater criteria. We're having to put a retaining wall and widen the trail because there is a 10-foot wide shared use path included with the project. And then there's some Corps of Engineers permitting. This change order includes a lot of different items as detailed in your memorandum. It's for $882,245 to Wilson and Company. I will add, yesterday, we received 6 proposals for a CMCG contract for this work. And we anticipate having construction start on the Barnes intersection late winter, early spring. And we'll talk about this more probably in February by the time I get contract negotiations, because we have to review and make a selection on that. But we're very, very excited to get that favorable response.
Go ahead, Tony.
Just a quick question. You answered part of my question. You said starting construction on Barnes.
I didn't think of all your questions, Tony.
Well, 1 of 2. So you said starting construction on the Barnes probably late winter, early spring. You have an idea on the actual lane widening for the rest of Mark Shuffle when you're looking at construction starting?
Well, it's interesting that you would ask that question. It may be a little premature for me to talk about it in detail, but it's good to give you a preview of it. So I've been securing funding over 21 and into 22 for Mark Shuffle at that Barnes intersection. Based on some initial contractor feedback, I think I would like to extend that southern limit all the way to North Carefree as opposed to leaving that half mile from North Carefree north as a future phase for 25. There's a lot of construction efficiencies to be had there. So I may be bringing a funding plan together for you guys to just consider probably in February, maybe in January, but most likely February to help advance that. I would say this construction contractor will be on board with the opportunity to construct essentially from Tamlin North. So that right now the Barnes intersection, Tamlin is the north extent and Zircon is the southern extent. So the add-on I'm talking about from Zircon to North Carefree, from Tamlin north up to Dublin. Right now, the funding for that would be a little more tricky. And we'd have to wait for RTA 3 funding to kick into it unless we came up with some other policies. So I can only tell you what I've got my funding for today, but I'm working on a plan to try to get as much of that done as soon as possible. I will mention, if you're familiar with that area, that section of Dublin from Peterson to Mark Shuffle, which all ties in together with all that. We do have a bid package. It's either out or imminently to go out to do some interim improvements right at the intersection of Mark Shuffle. It may be important for us to advance the engineering work so that piece of Dublin between Peterson and Mark Shuffle is ready for bid or construction in 25-ish timeframe as well. So the intent would be a construction contractor to keep moving from the south up towards the north of Dublin and finish Dublin going back to the west. But it's kind of the big plan. No, that's south. That's south by Zircon. That's that section between North Carefree and yes, I really needed a graphic for this discussion. I'm actually working on one for the bigger picture discussion. We'll have in the future on that, but drone video, is that what I'm up to now? Okay.
I got it.
The bar keeps moving, but that's okay. Any other questions on that contract?
Yeah, I do. Just a couple of questions on that land, the water quality pond change.
Yes.
When you mentioned that it was been developed now, what would have taken place had we proceeded? Would we still had the ponds, or are you just having to relocate them? Is that what you're?
We're having to relocate them. We're actually in one part of it. We're working with that developer and kind of repurposing things they did. And then we're doing some end system water quality. And then we'll have more water quality further down south.
Okay.
And this design contract, you got to remember, is the whole thing from North Carefree all the way up to Dublin, even though I have construction plans finalized from Zircon to Tamlin, sorry.
Well, considering it's an RTA 1 project, I guess we're on track. So I get it.
It's okay. And that's also another part of the discussion that Josh and I are having too. So you'll see in this funding plan, you'll see monies from RTA 1 and some maintenance commitments the county's made through previous budget years too.
And if I might highlight on page 3 of
Oh, yes, thank you.
that of Gail's item, the funding for this PPRTA 1 project has some pocket change from PPRTA 1, but is using PPRTA 2 city program funds, roadway safety and traffic ops and intersection improvements.
Yes, thank you.
Just FYI.
So we're finishing up that pool of money that we created with RTA 1 and that was pooled together for this project. So
Yes, and I will say the city will likely have a developer contribution coming into that fund after. So with this $84,000 charge, the city's bucket will be at 0. But then I expect it for another 400 or so thousand to come back into it. So we'll use that for construction in the future. And then the county may or may not have other RTA 1 monies available as they close out some other projects that we're in discussion about. But
okay.
in the end, all remaining RTA 1 money, capital money, will get rolled into this project.
Okay. One last question on that retaining wall. Where is that the retaining wall that's south of Carefree where that development is on?
No, this is all going to be an all new retaining wall. Really, because as we widen that trail and the grade separations, there's some short retaining walls we need to do to be able to have that off system shared use path. So it will help support.
Okay.
That new.
So it'll be along the path then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Other questions on contract number 1? Now you guys all know why Dole wanted to go first. Oh.
Just a small point of order. There's a reference to Peterson Air Force Base.
Space Force.
And you may be aware that it's now Peterson Space Force
Yes.
Base. A
Did I
small,
actually say Air Force Base?
Uh,
I said Peterson Road, I thought.
well, you do, but under reference, page 14,
Oh,
I think it
man.
was.
Dang it. Dave, you're gonna find something every time.
Sure.
I have-
Somewhere buried in here was,
We call them Guardians and they just had their 3-year anniversary.
they did. It's only been
Yes.
3 years,
Yes.
which is good, but going forward, just a friendly, gentle reminder
You're absolutely
to
right.
be using the correct
No, but that is, the
nomenclature.
name though from the ballot is Air Force Base.
Oh, okay. It's good to know.
Oh, let's see.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
ready for
stand.
round 3.
Yeah, it
Let's
is
go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. All right, any other questions related to contract 1?
No.
All right, so I'm gonna move on to contract 2. I'm really disappointed that Red Cougar's not here today because I know this is one of his favorite projects. Oh, he's online. Okay, good. So this next contract is for Rustic Hills paving phase 2. There is a location map included in your packet for this project. This is for additional pavement design, utility coordination, some drainage outfall, some additional drainage analysis, and some engineering services during construction that will be provided. Kimley Horn has been doing that engineering work for us. They will continue to do so for this next phase. This change order is an amount of $116,400. I will let you know that the construction contract, again, it's another one that's either out right now for bid or it's eminently out for bid. And it will include the base work for Peyton Circle, south of Brady Road as the base, and then the add alternate is the rest of Brady Road, east of Broken Circle Road, and then Pronghorn Lane. And then this design contract is for that next package. Questions on that contract?
This cover your street, Rick?
There's a lot of rigs.
Okay, no, it doesn't. I'm on Half Moon.
Oh, okay.
Leave me to the last.
All right. Maybe
Yes,
next time, huh?
unfortunately, he might be in the last phase. Sorry, Rick.
That's okay. I don't want it anyhow.
All right, I'm gonna move on quickly unless.
Yes, there we go. Go ahead.
All right, the city's third contract is for the PPRTA Capital Improvements Program and Bridge Asset Management Staffing Services. The city went through an extensive RFP process and received 3 proposals. In the past, and just to kind of give you a little bit of history, the city has had this service provided through NOLTI or NV5 for the past 18 or so years. We went through this recompete process. LS Gallegos was selected as the city's preferred provider. They do have some NV5 teaming partners on their team. In addition to the RFP, we asked extensive rounds of questions, both in writing and verbally, for 2 of the finalists for that effort. Underneath this contract, the LS Gallegos team will provide embedded staff to include a program manager, project managers, bridge asset manager, 4 inspectors, PPRTA admin support, procurement, and project controls. And I did want to mention, I did get a chance to introduce my program manager and our deputy program manager, Rick and Keith, are in the audience. I introduced them to Mr. Godfrey and Mr. Tobias earlier. Just so you had a chance, because in case you happen to see them around, but the intent is for them to help us provide services underneath PPRTA. Questions on that contract? The city's 4th contract also includes a location and map. It's for the 31st Street and Fontenera Roundabout. The city went through an RFP process where we received 2 proposals. The selected consultant was Wilson and Company for a contract for $596,662.53. This work would be funded out of the Intersection Improvements Program. This is going to be just for engineering services for this work. And just to give a little bit of background, after Waldo Canyon, the city went through and did a Camp Creek drainage improvement study. that started all the way up basically at the headwaters of where Wald's located, kind of fed down on the south end of Garden of the Gods, where we put a pond in through a FEMA grant. And as part of that city, there was 2 other projects that were recommended, but the third part of it included replacing a system of bridges on the Camp Creek alignment, one of which is at 31st, or I'm sorry, they're all on 31st Street, but one of which is at the Fontenaro crossing. The city has been able to go and obtain federal grants, both with STB Metro and TAP funding for the construction. But we do need to fund the intersection improvements for this project.
So, Tony, you
Questions?
had a question?
Just a quick one. So that intersection, like you said, it is a bridge and you're talking about doing a roundabout. Would the roundabout be a bridge itself?
Yes, it will
over it?
be. So yeah, the
That'll be
bridge will pretty
interesting.
much be there, but you just roundabout. It's actually common to have them at grade like that.
Okay.
What's uncommon is to have the roundabout elevated, but there are some of those that exist now too.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah, the other thing that happens with this and the reason why we were able to obtain TAP funding is because as part of this and part of that overall plan is to have better trail connections in that area. And for the foothill trail. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there gonna, this is one of the very few living up in Green Mountain Falls that I actually interact with, that I see. Are you going to have to acquire any property for the roundabout there?
As I recall, I've seen the concepts. I don't think so, because I feel like from what I've from recalling from the plan, that Fontenaro is wide enough. And 31st Street right there in that area is
Yeah.
wide enough that we should not, or if we do, it'd be very minimal and likely more temporary easements. Where we might need some, this is a part of the plan, I don't recall off the top of my head, is if we have to do anything for the trail itself, but so I recall 31st Street through there and with the channel, because we have that as right away as well as very wide.
Right.
So I don't recall that being the case, but right away always seems to come up in some fashion.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I want to thank you for putting that description in here about how it ties into the whole flood control thing that they did from navigators on down and all. But when are they going to address that drainage ditch? And is that going to be, what funds do you anticipate would be used on that? Do you know?
Yeah, well, that is a good question, Jim. So specific to this project, the channel as it goes through this intersection, that stretch would be improved as part of the drainage improvements, just specific to this area. I actually have a different grant application in to replace the Water Street Bridge, which was one of the other locations. When we do that, we would do the channel through that area as well. Really, what we've talked about is looking to see if there's other grant opportunities that could be applicable for the rest of the channel. The overall project is pretty costly, and so I'm just really focusing on addressing the transportation needs
Right.
that intersect with that overall global drainage system.
You know, when I read you were gonna do some bed improvement, you're gonna have a section as we do sometimes around intersection improvements that will be improved, but the rest of it will still remain in its concrete channel for now.
That is the case right
Okay.
now.
All right.
Jim,
Oh, Dave?
Speaking of cost, in fact, that was my question. Is a good rule of thumb, 10-ish% for engineering. So a typical roundabout can be actually the cost of, if I'm reading this right, the cost of the design alone. So help me with the number scale. The $600,000, this is just for design, not.
This is just for design.
$600,000 for design. So take that times 10. Is this a $6 million project or?
It is in that $5 to $6 million
It is.
range for
Okay.
sure. Yes, and in fact, we've had the STP Metro money for a while, and we just went back and got additional monies. But we've got an application in, the TAC met recently. It's going to recommend additional TAP funding to help fund this project. Plus, the city will be kicking in either 17.21 or 20%, depending on which grant match funding that is associated with it to complete this work. So
No,
it's a-
no, that's good to know. And the way you've titled it, I think it makes a lot of sense. Some of you may recall that there was some concern expressed over roundabouts in general that are PPRTA funded. I don't want to go down that road. And so to the extent to which you can minimize the fact that our critics out there may be saying, holy cow, you're spending $500,000 just to design a roundabout. You've done this correctly, and that's good. I like the way you've handled this one. I'd like to encourage you to keep doing the same thing in the future. So we're not doing a $6 million roundabout. This is a intersection improvements with bridge, with drainage, and there are a lot more components to it.
Yeah.
I applaud you. I guess the point is for not just calling it, but it could be interpreted by some as just a roundabout. This
Right.
is far from that.
No, I
Oh, yeah.
appreciate that. And I will let you know because there is a whole study that's already been done. It's gone through a public process. This has already been vetted past the conceptual design level. And it has had public input in the
Good.
past of developing the plan. So thank you though for that. I appreciate
Yeah, this
that.
has got stormwater implications all over it and
Mhm.
that whole channel through there. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions on number 4? Otherwise, I'll move on to the series of maintenance contracts that I know you guys are always interested in. Okay. Contract number 5 is for the PPRTA dig out and patch program. The city went through an RFP process. We received 3 proposals. 2 were selected. Both Tracks Construction and Elite Surface Infrastructure were identified. They'll be put on an on-call contract basis. The total expenditures for this would not exceed $500,000 for the year. This is the first year of a contract and it has 4 option years. If you recall, I think it was literally 2 months ago, definitely no more than 3. We exercised the last option year of our previous round of on-call contracts. These will be completely new contracts for this service. Any questions on that item? All right, moving on to contract number 6. It's for PPRT on-call and ADA concrete services. City went through an RFP process, received 9 proposals, 6 were selected. And you can see the list of the contractors' names in your packet. The anticipated, again, is similar to the dig out and patch that we would do an on-call contract. And the total accumulation of funds underneath the contract across those 6 vendors would not exceed the $10 million in 2023. Again, this is the first year of the contract and we have the ability to exercise 4 option years. Both this contract and the dig out and patch would be funded by PPRTA maintenance dollars. Questions on that item? All right.
Cost increase question. Are you seeing huge in terms of bidding at cost per cubic yard, I presume? Are you seeing 20%, 40%?
We had seen between 14 and 18%, but they really have started leveling off.
Okay.
Contract number 7, it's for truncated domes. The city went through an RFP process. 1 proposal was received and deemed to responsive and competitively bid. That was with Myers Construction and the total available amount of $150,000. Again, similar to the others, they'll start off and those will be issued on task order basis. This is the first year contract with 4 potential option years available.
Is this replacement of non-compliant ADA ped ramps?
This specific contract isn't to replace the ramps. This is to replace the truncated domes.
What
Because
is
a lot
it,
of times our ramps become the concrete may be at the right slopes. But
You mean
they
the hump
don't
it?
have the tactile detection at the bottom of the ramp. And that may be the sole thing that makes them not.
That's the red stuff right before you go into the street?
Yes,
Okay.
the bumpy parts.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what a truncated dome was. So I didn't.
I'll bring you a picture next time.
That's all right.
All right, our contract number 8 is for pipelining. City once again went through an RFP process where we received 3 proposals. 1 was selected. This was a package of doing pipelining with cast in place concrete at 9 locations in advance of PPRTA road maintenance activities. The selected contract was American West in the amount of $779,800. Questions there? All right, contract number 9 is the sidewalk vertical displacement mitigation. The city went through an RFP process. One proposal was received. It was deemed to be responsive and competitively priced. And this is for precision concrete cutting, for them to go through and look at sidewalk areas where we have a bunch of vertical displacement, where they basically saw that off or grind that down so you have a smoother transition. So those that are using those with disabilities, or even just walking, frankly, I don't have tripping hazards on that area. Again, that contract for 23 will be $175,000 or up to $175,000. That is the base year amount, and there are 4 option years. All right. The last contract, cartograph license renewal. This is for infrastructure asset management. As you've seen in years past, and we've talked about before, is that cartograph is the software package the city uses for asset management, a lot of which we use for planning and tracking for our transportation amenities that we use primarily for maintenance, but we also use it for our bridges and then our walls that are with the structures within the right of way. The Pikes Peak, the PPRTA portion for this contract is $66,525.46. And various other city sources are going to be used for the remainder of the $139,137.34. And again, that gets paid for out of maintenance funding. Any other questions on that contract or any of the others that I presented today?
I don't see anybody online. So do I hear a motion to approve the city's contracts as presented?
I move to approve all 10 as presented.
Okay, Tony, do I have a second? Ed Dills, second. Okay, thank you. All right, so if no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the city's contracts, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. Motion carries. Okay, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Josh Palmer, El Paso County Engineer. County has a single contract we present today. This is for a contract in the amount of $668,995 to Sturgeon Electric. This is to install a signal at the intersection of Mark Scheffel and Mesa Ridge Parkway. This is part of the Mesa Ridge Parkway project. During our preliminary planning, we determined that the signal was warranted now, so we expedited a standalone design for the signal at that intersection. And our contract today is to install that signal while we're finalizing design for the rest of that project. That design's about 90% complete, and we plan to go to construction for the remainder of that project spring of next year.
Okay. Any questions for Josh on their project, Dave?
A quick question, Josh. Looks like a great proposal. Help us with the cost estimate. I know, again, I love to work with rules of thumb. Good rule of thumb for traffic signal, 300,000, 400,000, maybe with a little bit of inflation. This
Maybe
is
a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years. This is a T intersection, so it's a 3-legged intersection, not a 4-legged intersection. I presume it's mast arm.
Mast arm, correct? Yeah. Yeah. The county's moving away from span wire.
Span wire.
Yeah.
Good. What was the estimate on this one? 3-legged mast arm signalized intersection.
Oh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Roughly.
My computer's not working, so
That's
I can
okay.
pull it up for you. Yeah, I don't recall what the estimate was. My guess is it's probably nowhere near $668,000.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, see, there you go. In between powers there. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions for Josh on their project for the county?
Was this the only bid you got then from Sturgeon?
I believe we had 3 bids for that one.
You did.
Yeah.
This is the lowest of 3.
Yes.
Wow. For a
think we had-
3-legged intersection, almost $700,000
$668,000.
That's about what we
Yeah.
for 3-legged.
Well, 3 or 4 are about the same.
Well,
Be 3 poles, yeah.
3 poles, not 4.
Well, it's like when you buy tires, you get the 4th free usually. So,
Yeah. I think we need a little realignment here, but okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Josh? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the county's project as presented?
Larry Tobias, I move for approval of El Paso County's project as presented by Josh.
And Ish, I seconded.
Okay, Ann, thank you. And second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next on the list. Transit services. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Land Rail Transit Services Administrator, Acting Transit Services Manager. I'm here to present you our monthly ridership report. What's included in your packet is basically our standard monthly report for local fixed route, ADA, and van pool. In October, the ridership basically went back to the post-pandemic normal level, which is about between 70 to 80%, around 76 and 77% of the pre-pandemic level, which is similar to what we had observed and shared last month to the September level. So that information is in your packet. One question that CAC had last month was about the free zero fare month was the carbon reduction program. We reached out to the state agency, CASTA, who managed the program, and they were not able to track that information, unfortunately. One lesson that we learned collectively this year was earlier we could put out the program, promote the program, the better it is. So we're hoping if the program is still available next year, we can do maybe an earlier promotion and start using the tools we have and hopefully to track that information. So that's one thing we learned. Also in your packet is a project update about our mobile ticketing project. This is a project that we initiated following the fare study that we conducted a few years ago. This basically is a mobile app on your phone. If you have your phone and search up in the app store, you just type in Ride MMT without any space, and you see a little yellow icon with a bus on there. So you can look at the scheduled purchase bus passes and load your account. So it's a very convenient way for our runners to pay before they get on the bus. And we included 2 reports in the packet. One report is, the first page is basically the sales information based on dollar amount since the start of, since we launched the program on May 10th this year. As you can see, the bars are increasing over the last few months, with the August being the lowest because it's the free months and most people were not buying. The green bar is the dollar value for the 31-day pass, followed by 20 ride, 1 ride, and day pass. Then the second page, you will be able to see the count of those sales. Over the last few months, again, we saw an increase in the usage of this mobile app, and the majority, the highest sales volume happened with the 1 ride ticket. So most people are purchasing, it's convenient way. It's 1 ride, I get on the bus, then use the mobile app. Then the second highest is the day pass, followed by 20 ride and 31 day pass. So we thought it's a nice new feature. We are still in the middle of implementation because of the supply chain issue. We were not able to receive the smart card that was part of this project. So the smart card will basically help with the situation that people don't really have a smartphone. I don't have a phone. How do I get on the bus? So you can purchase a smart card. And we also have, it's called income. People can also load their account, load their card at retail stores. So those are a lot of those nice features that come with this implementation. And it's still developing in the implementation phase. But we thought it would be nice for us to share that information.
Yeah, thank you.
A couple other things we were not able to include in the report is we are transitioning our fixed route operations from the current, it's called RATP Dev operator to TransDev is the company's name. We went through an RFP process, awarded the contract, and the contract was signed late November. So if you hear anything, people ask, that's what's happening. TransDev is actively trying to hire Rapid Dev employees. So mainly this is a standard practice with outsourced transit contractors operations. Every few years, you will see this transition, but the goal is to maintain as many as current employees as possible. Another news that I would like to share is we received the official notification from the Federal Transit Administration on it's called triennial review audit. They see that as a review, not audit, but we treat it as audit. So it is a standard audit that we go through. They look at there are 23 areas, but 20 out of that 23 areas apply to transit. So that's all the update we have.
The progress on the shortage of drivers coming along?
We actually see some promising signs with TransDev. As soon as they receive the notice to proceed, they're actively hiring drivers, and seems like it's promising. Yeah. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to commend Mountain Metro for the app. I do have the app. I've tried it. By the way, I've been involved with technology for over 30 years now, and I have seen botched rollouts of implementations of everything when it comes to computers and systems related to technology. And this was absolutely flawless, at least from my experience with the app that came out onto the App Store. You can download it, you can charge. You basically have like a ticket wallet that you can have there, and it really just worked remarkably. I mean, it worked flawlessly. I just wanted to commend the vendor and Mountain Metro for a very smooth rollout when it came to the app. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for that comment.
And I had a similar comment also. Good on you. I am frustrated constantly by the RTD Denver app. I try to use it. It crashes, it fails, it's wrong. And oh, by the way, everything up there seems to be late and unpredictable. Yours has none of those characteristics. So congratulations. It's a great rollout, and I look forward to using it more in the future. I just had one question about the change in transit provider. That's a big deal.
It is a big
I recognize that, and that only happens twice a decade or so, I presume. Was the incumbent provider interested in continuing the relationship, or did they choose not to propose on this next multi-year contract?
I think it is public information. Yes, they were.
They did
were
propose on that, and they
interested,
were not selected. Okay, okay. Which explains why the changeover in personnel. So I wish you the best on that. That's a very, very difficult initiative, and wish you the very best of luck in this major transition. So good on you. We'll see you next month with a new operator, I'm sure. If you'd like to bring them in and introduce some of the team, you're certainly welcome to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's okay. It's all right.
Question. Oh.
Sorry about that. So how are you promoting the mobile ticket purchase? How are you increasing public awareness of that?
We, at the beginning of the launch, we put out press release. It's news media, social media, and we're actually promoting those when we sell bus passes with our ticket vendors. And we also plan to, now that we're now it's maybe close to halfway through the implementation. We're gonna do more promotion, probably going to the riders at downtown bus terminal and on the buses as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Further questions? All right, thank you, Lane. Monthly change order and property acquisition, in your packet. Any questions on either the city or the county's property acquisition or change order law? Any questions on the county? Not seeing anyone online or in here.
Jim, you don't have your mic on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. So will you follow me, city and county change order and acquisition? Any question or comments? Okay, sorry about that. And then, okay. No questions on either the city or the counties. You have in your packet, your quarterly reports from the member governments. Again, I try to encourage this every quarter. Tremendous amount of work on the staff, on the part of the staffs to produce this document. It's got a lot of information in it. And this should be your Bible when you're talking out in your circles about the status of things. And this should be your reference document. And so I encourage you, if you have not had a time to look through it, find your favorite project and get an update on this. It's a wonderful project, wonderful product. So thank you for all the staff that spend this time putting this together. Any questions from anybody? All right, we'll move on to 8A. Any comments or questions on the report of board actions from last month? Not seeing any. Okay, appointment, reappointment of Citizens Advisory Committee members. Rick, you want to take that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there's 2 or 3 updates on this one. First of all, you'll see at the bottom of the first page in bold that Mr. Stephen Hart has decided not to seek reappointment and from the city of Manitou Springs. So Mayor Graham has informed the PPRTA staff that the city is in the process of appointing a replacement member to the CAC. Update number 2 is that Mr. Craig Gooding has been reappointed to the PPRTA CAC from the Board of Trustees of the town of Green Mountain Falls. I assume everybody saw that email. And number 3 is that Joan Lucia Treese has decided to resign. In fact, I have already received her letter of resignation, which came in after the CAC packet went out. That's why it's not in here. But for health reasons, I'll not go into details, but with her resignation as an at-large regular, it was just happened to be timely for me to inform the board subcommittee who had received applications for the 3 alternate seats to add Jones at-large regular seat to the mix. So the board subcommittee, which per board policy is the board chair, board vice chair, and the CAC chair, Jim. So in their second round of interviews, they held 2 of them, one on November 18 and one on December 1. So they had 6 applications for originally 3 seats, then 4 seats with Joan resigning. So their 4 recommended candidates will be in tomorrow's PPRTA board agenda packet for the board to ratify and approve or not on the 14th. So I don't feel like I can release the 4 names at this point, but they'll be in the board packet tomorrow, and then the board will consider that on next Wednesday.
Tony?
For those of us who are already alternates, is there a chance that one of us could become the regular member and? Or are they just going to appoint the regular member out of those four?
Good question. I didn't anticipate that, sorry. I think the subcommittee's already made its recommendation for the at-large regular in their recommendation. Jim, you have any thoughts? I don't have any thoughts.
Yeah, we've already kind of racked and stacked to present to the board. We didn't think about offering the opportunity for an existing alternate to move into the regular position. So I guess we apologize for that. We can do it next year. And maybe we should try to keep that. I think we've done that in the past, is open up opportunities for alternates to move into regular seats. So shame on us for not
Yeah,
thinking about that.
It was a bang bang play. So Jones' notice and resignation was just 24, 48 hours before the subcommittee met. So
Yeah. And we wanted to get this done this month so that they can take next month. So we'll try to remember to do that next year. Whoever's sitting in these chairs. All right. Any other questions for Rick on the replacements? All right. Item number 8C. Larry would like to make a comment before we get started. Oh, wait a minute.
Was there I see action required, request of approved. Is there a motion and second that's needed for this action item, or should I have any information? I thought it was information, but.
Which one?
8B.
8B is information.
Okay,
It at this point, yes, it's a board decision. So we wanted to update everybody on.
it just says action requested approved. Okay,
sorry.
All right, thank you.
information. That's what I thought.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Larry?
All right, in your packet, the El Paso County Commissioners have made a decision to eliminate the Highway Advisory Commission. But on the other hand, they are also obligated to have 3 members of the PPRTA representing the county. And in this resolution, they are indicating that the existing 3 members will be approved eventually to be permanent members of the PPRTA, depending on the amount of time that is served by that particular individual. On the advice of the PPRTA lawyer, it is recommended that I not vote on this particular item because all the issues have not been worked out between the county and the PPRTA. And with that, I will turn it over to Dave, because he's in the same situation that I am, that the attorney is recommending.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Along with that, we'll be recusing ourselves from discussion on certain items related to that. And although I'm pleased to accept an opportunity for reappointment to this group, as Larry pointed out, the HAC is being dissolved. Highway Advisory Commission is being dissolved over at the county, but the fact is you'll be still tortured, at least by me and hopefully some of my colleagues well into the future.
And hopefully, yeah, I'll just say one more thing, Rick. Hopefully the board will approve this change in the bylaws next week. And then the county and the board and PPRTA can get all the final items taken care of as far as, what needs to be done to reappoint us back to the PPRTA CAC.
Rick?
And just for the folks that might be online who didn't get a packet, the original board approved CAC bylaws state that the 3 county representatives on the PPRTA CAC must come from the county's Highway Advisory Commission. So if since now that the Board of County Commissioners has dissolved the hack, the PPRTA CAC bylaws have to be changed to have a different appointment process to get 3 county members on the PPRTA CAC. And the county's resolution specifies that that would be by, those appointments would be by the Board of County Commissioners. So that's the item on the agenda today is a CAC recommendation to the board for the board to revise the CAC bylaws to remove the county's appointment process via the hack and make it via the Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah, in the draft resolution, it states clearly that the commission will appoint them directly. But that was not passed, and lawyers got involved and decided that we need to adjust the bylaws first, and if the board approves the bylaws, then they will finalize their resolution and make that process go. So.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to, there's a comment in the chat, and I don't know if anyone can answer this question or not, but it's from Mr. Barnhart. Why is the Board of County Commissioners eliminating the hack? I don't know if anyone knows that answer, but that was a question from Mr. Barnhart.
Dave, you guys know, anybody who knows?
You'll have to ask the commissioners.
Yeah. Some of it is that they decided that it was more efficient to some of the processes that the Department of Public Works has put in place as far as reviewing projects and getting information out to the public was more efficient than having the Highway Advisory Commission. And that's the main reason, is that they thought that they could do it. And in some ways, some of the information we have at the PPRTA is a duplicate of what some of the things we discussed at the hack also. So when they looked at all these things combined, they decided that it would be in the best interest of the county that the hack be dissolved, and that the 3 members appointed to the PPRTA be directly appointed by the commissioners. Now, they still plan on having a quarterly review from the Department of Public Works to the county commissioners. I have not seen a schedule of that, but they are still going to have a quarterly review from the Department of Public Works for the projects that they are working on in the county, along with our quarterly report that's included in the PPRTA information packet.
Yes, sir, Rick.
Just an FYI for Larry and David and Josh is we're not, I don't think the county's requesting, we're not suggesting that the staggered terms phrase be eliminated. So as the BOCC is considering its reappointments, if we could keep the staggering.
Yeah, just I talked to Holly Williams last month, concerning this issue, and she was indicating that the staggered terms would still be in place for those appointments to the PPRTA CAC.
Scott, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
I've also heard there was just an impact on staff time for duplicate briefings. Was an impact on it as well. So from what I understand. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Rick.
Just an opinion. I am disappointed in them eliminating that level of oversight.
Yeah. Not anything we can do about it. Yeah. The county commissioners have decided that's what they want to do based on staff input. So there has been talk around the county staff about this for a month or two. So it's not a new subject. So I've heard it through the El Paso County Citizens Outreach and through some of the staff. So But it's their call. So. All right, so that's the revision, we need to make a recommendation to the board that we modify the CAC bylaws to reflect that the director, that the members representing the county will be appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, and we're going to have two. Who else is going to recruit? Just the two of you?
Yeah.
Is that all that's here today?
Yeah.
Okay. That Dave and Larry and Richard's in the hospital. He had a foot problem or something.
Okay,
So,
maybe just the two of us.
yeah.
today.
Okay. So do I have a motion to recommend the change of the bylaws?
I'll move to to recommend the change to the bylaws reflecting the direct appointment of the county's representatives from the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Tony. A second.
I'll second.
Ed Dill, second. Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you all.
And for the minutes, we'll note the 2 abstentions. So I think the count would be 12-0 to 2.
Okay. All right. And last item.
Just a
Rick?
reminder that next month, per the CAC bylaws, that the PPRTA committee shall Citizen Advisory Committee shall select its chair, first vice chair, and second vice chair for the 1-year terms on a calendar year basis at the first meeting of each year. So just FYI to be doing all your politicking between now and January 4.
All right. Item number 9, agenda topics for next meeting. Anybody got any burning subjects we want to talk about? Anybody online? All right. Any communications by any of the members? Anybody online? Go first. Don't see any. Tony?
So I'm going to take just a minute, I guess, to be a complainer. So I really have a question more for the city and county. Is there anything in place that for the contractors puts time limits on the jobs that they're doing for us? Because there are some that have been ongoing for a very long time and causing major traffic jams. In my part, all up in the Northeast, we see it on Austin Bluffs, we see it on Woodman, we see it on Art Shuffle right there, at that intersection. And it seems like they're just ongoing projects that never get done. So I'm just curious what the time requirements are for our contractors on those types of things.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned what locations. I would say that contracts that are held by the city, so work being performed by the city, there are contract durations. I will say that in particular in this last year, but really the last couple of years, we've seen some longer durations really for some supply chain issues. In particular, when we've had to incorporate utilities, and we've had to make contract adjustments based on this, but there are timeframes. And if they don't meet those timeframes, there are liquidated damages typically associated with the projects. Interesting that some of the areas you mentioned, there's a lot of development work going on there. This is actually one of my personal pet peeves. Developer contractors do not have stipulated timeframes in the city. And we do not have any kind of lane rental or financial ramifications if they extend for an extended period of time to complete their work. I believe the county, I don't know if you still have lane rental fees, but I'll let the county speak for themselves on, but we have a bigger issue with development related construction.
The county's pretty much the same way. It kind of depends on the type of contract as well. Our typical contracts, maintenance contracts are usually on an annual basis. So there's also a difference between the contract length and the project duration, working days type thing. So it could be 200 working day project, but the contract will stay open for the entire year. So if it's a project like that, an annual maintenance contract, it's a year. Sometimes they're multi-year projects will have multiple years, but just like the city, it's supply chain issues, it's labor, weather comes into play oftentimes. Some of those can be exacerbated by scheduling. So, for anybody who lives out in Falcon, Woodman, Meridian, Stapleton, Meridian area is a mess. And that just was a confluence of, we had $30 million in paving contracts across two different contractors. And at the time when we scheduled it, they didn't overlap at all, but one contractor got delayed by a couple weeks and this one moved up by a couple weeks, and all of a sudden they're working in the same area at the same time. You throw weather in there and a couple materials delays and a few bad inspections, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks turning into a month. So but similar with the developers, we don't have a whole lot of control over the type of work and the duration for the developers. We do charge certain kinds of fees. Those fees don't go towards anything. So while there's monetary implications to delays, liquidated damages, I'll just say some are better at paying them, and we don't have a whole lot of influence into whether or not they pay them. And it doesn't affect us because we don't see the money anyway. So.
All right. That concludes the agenda. Any last shots, anybody? All right, I have a motion to adjourn. Oh, Dave?
No, but just wishing everyone a happy holiday. Great work this year. There's so much going on. I think that as we started off, Mr. Chair, talking about the vote count with PPRTA is a absolutely astonishing reflection of this community, conservative as it is in every respect, to not only support barely, but to support easily. Was a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, I think. Just astonishes me that so many voted 4-to-1. That's 4-to-1. Yeah, but who's counting? It really is an amazing reflection of the great work that's being done by the staffs, by all the local governments, all the agencies, and all of you. So thank you for your hard work this year. Wishing you the very best and a happy holiday season.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Wish everyone a great holiday season. I know I spent a lot of time on Nextdoor, bantering around with some folks in the northwest side of town and the western side of town about RTA. And I tried as a private citizen. I did that on my own time, not directed by anyone, but I sent a lot of people to the website, and there people came back and said there's a lot of good information there. So kudos to the people that maintain the website, because being able to go back and show in the annual reports that people think that the city employees sit around in their offices and figure out how to screw the citizens, and the reports really show that's not the case. So good job, everybody, and appreciate all your time. So have a great holiday and drive safe.